Welcome to today's reading. If you are new to my channel, please like, share and subscribe. If you are returning, welcome back. A bit about me first. I am an intuitive tarot reader. I receive messages prior to the reading. I will then come and use my tarot and oracle decks to further develop the messages that I am receiving. The past couple of weeks I've been getting lots of dream messages and concurring messages that are coming through in dribs and drabs. So as I get them, I'm just going to put them up. You may wish to go back to some of those previous dream message readings because there are links between them. They all are part of a story. I do believe that when we get messages, we don't get everything. You don't get the whole book in one section, a bit like a puzzle. You get little bits and pieces and then it's up to you to put things together. You may pick up some things that I have missed and vice versa. Now, I do use my own tarot and oracle decks on this channel. I am an illustrator. I was guided prior to starting my channel through a recent spiritual awakening that I had. I was guided to create my own tarot and oracle decks to use on the channel. So I've got 6 here today. I do have more available. The links to find those are in the description box. If you are feeling called to any of them, I also am in the process of designing some new decks for my range of tarot and oracle decks. You will see that I traditionally use blue and white. I have a very strong connection with Mother Mary. The Mother Mary's colour is blue, which is why all of my tarot decks and oracle decks are blue and white. I really resonate with that colour. I find a sense of peace and calm with that colour. So what I was getting this morning, and it is in relation to some previous readings that I have been doing, I was picking up on the Beyonce song 4 or 5 days ago, the song about Texas Hold'em, I think it's called. Now, I was only getting a couple of lines, not even, I've never listened to the whole song. When I put that reading out, I think I put the reading out yesterday, but it was a collection of readings that had happened, and obviously I was picking up on themes of tornadoes and also earthquakes, which have been seen in the last few days. Now, the messages I was getting, I'd recorded the reading, but I just hadn't put it up yet. So the messages that I was receiving were in and around natural disasters that are playing out across the globe. More specifically, the messages I'm getting are about America. So my daughter, who was also incredibly intuitive, that particular day when I was having Texas Hold'em repeat in my head, she was playing, and it only just dawned on me this morning, she was actually playing the Lana Del Rey song on repeat, Paris, Texas. So there is some alignment with Texas. And as I was trying to develop this message this morning, as I was trying to get further clarification on it, I was thinking about the number 50 was coming into my mind. Now, I turn 50 next year. I've always been incredibly intuitive, but I've never really tapped into my gifts. And it was only probably 6 months ago that I even realized that my moon is in Scorpio, which explains my gifts, but I never knew. So 50 years I'd lived without it. I mean, I always knew what my sun sign was, but I never really thought to look. I'm not into astrology. I don't, read. Yeah, it's only now. And it was through that process that I realized that my moon was in Scorpio. So the messages that I was receiving were that there's something hidden. There's been something hidden for 50 years. I also got the song Man on the Moon, and I got the line from that song, if you believe there's been a man on the moon. Now that's an REM song. When you say, if you believe something, is it true? And I don't know whether it's in relation to the man on the moon. Is it something in relation? Is there something being covered up? Is Paris, Texas even a town? I think that it is. I did a bit of Googling. There is a movie called Paris, Texas. There is a town, I think, called Paris, Texas. Now, the movie is the story of the prodigal son or the prodigal father turning his back on his family in the pursuit of something better. Now, that in itself is an illusion. Didn't the prodigal son come back with his head between his knees, begging for forgiveness? The birds also in this reading have been quite noisy. There's chatter. The birds are divine messengers. And in the readings that I did the other day, picked up a lot of animals actually, specifically birds. The birds were incredibly active before that huge earthquake in Turkey. The birds were doing crazy things the day before that. I think it was magnitude 9 earthquake in Turkey. So I don't know whether I'm picking up on some sort of natural disaster that maybe people know more about than they're letting on. I don't know what it is. But I was getting Man on the Moon and Paris, Lana Del Rey, Paris, Texas, and Beyonce's. And I've done a couple of love readings this morning, and in the middle of picking up on these themes, I was thinking about what are they hiding, and I got that Carpenter's song, It's Only Just Begun. The beginning of what is being revealed. Perhaps, I don't know, by local authorities, by government, perhaps the beginning of what is being revealed by God. If we're talking about natural disasters, it's only just begun. Four of Swords. Four of Swords is Jupiter in Libra. So Libra is balance. Jupiter expands things. There's a big alignment between Jupiter and Uranus. I think it's on the 20th of April, so in a couple of days' time. Now that traditionally brings earthquakes. If you believe there's a man on the moon. People not being complacent, but people unaware of what's actually lurking under the surface. And I'm seeing, like a big shark underneath the surface, but you can't see it because it's deep. King of Wands. For me, sometimes that card comes out as Fakey McFakeman. That illusion, all the gear but no idea. That illusion that everything is perfect, but it's not. There's something lurking. Ten of Pentacles. Mercury in Virgo. The Chariot, which is Cancer. And the Eight of Swords. That illusion that you've got, and Ten of Pentacles is happy family. Wife, kids, nice house, nice car. That illusion of that. The Chariot, something coming into you, some message. Ten of Pentacles is Mercury. Mercury is a message, some sort of message that comes into you that then puts you into Eight Swords. Because you thought you had it all worked out with the King of Wands here. I'm getting that, just drifting through life as if everything seems normal because somebody's not giving you information. It's been hidden from you. Story of the prodigal son. Maybe you've put your eggs in the wrong basket. A couple of weeks ago, I did a reading on falling into the abyss. Now, there's a city a little bit away from us, and the city itself is built over the top of old mine shafts, and the developers went in and built all of these homes, and now there's sinkholes. So, this illusion of building your dream house, but not knowing, the Four of Swords here, not knowing what it's been built on. I watched a video yesterday about it's only been in the last 20 years. Now, we're talking about earthquakes. It's only been in the last 20 years that infrastructure has started to change in parts of America to cater for, because they are expecting that some of the fault lines are on sort of a 240, 250 year cycle of when there are major earthquakes. And I'm talking big earthquakes like the one in Turkey. But they're now sort of 300 years. They're 50 years over that time when that earthquake is going to hit, but they've only just started making the precautions. So anything that was built prior, King of Wands, all the gear but no idea. Beautiful big homes that were built, and that illusion of, yeah, look at my great home, but underneath there's something that you're not aware of. If you believe they put a man on the moon, selling the dream, yeah. Five of Swords. Five of Swords is Venus in Aquarius. That's disaster. Venus in Aquarius. Queen of Wands. This is a pair. Queen of Wands. King of Wands, Queen of Wands. The focus on what you have as opposed to the foundation that it's built on. Okay. King of Swords. Nine of Cups. Wish fulfillment. There's a truth coming about what you've built your foundations on. The dream that you've been sold and the illusion that it is. If you believe they put a man on the moon. 50 years. It's been going on for 50 years. Nine of Cups is Jupiter in Pisces. Again, that Jupiter here, Four of Swords, is Jupiter in Libra. Jupiter in Pisces. When I think of Pisces, I was saying before that Pisces is water. Pisces is tsunamis. And that big, there's some fault line that runs from the top of California right up through into Canada. Now, the last time there was an earthquake there, it was called the orphan tsunami because it hit Japan and they didn't know where it came from because it was, 250 years ago, and literally destroyed everything. This huge wall of water. When I think of Pisces, Nine of Cups, this huge wall of water, all these beautiful homes that have been built on the ocean. I know in Hawaii they've actually got tsunami zones where you have to move back to if there is a tsunami warning. But that video I watched yesterday about this big earthquake that's predicted sometime in the next 50 years, less than 15 minutes to get back. But anything that you have built, which is just sad. If people know that that is a tsunami zone, that they would, number 8, that they would allow you to build. It's the same here. The tunnels that they've built under the river in some of the cities, and there's now cracks in the houses that are above them. Now that is the Strength card. The first thing that came to my mind was the Strength card is Leo, an earthquake so powerful that it is 8 or above. Okay, let's go in here. 8 of Cups. 8, 8. Actually, we've got 8. We've got 8 of Swords here, 8 of Cups here, and we have The Strength card. 888. This year is, the portal is the 888 portal. It is the 8th of August, 2024. 2024 adds up to 8. When you think of, this card is walking away. 8 of Cups is Saturn in Pisces, walking away. But that is, as the ocean drags out with the tsunami, and then it comes back. Six of Swords, moving on to calmer waters. Six of Swords is Mercury in Aquarius. And the Five of Pentacles. The Five of Pentacles is Mercury in Taurus. The communication that comes in. Five of Pentacles is being left out in the cold. All I'm getting from that is developers selling people a dream, and then when a natural disaster happens, they run for the hills. Story of the prodigal son. Is the prodigal son that story where he goes away to find big city lights and then comes back with his tail between his legs? I'm thinking of, people with these big, beautiful homes, all the gear, but no idea that they've been sold. It's like all those houses. You see them in, is it in Malibu, and the sea is kind of, there's the same here down the Gold Coast. There's all these high-rise buildings that in 20 years time, 30 years time, the water from the ocean will have actually washed them all away. All these people throwing all of this money towards, Ace of Pentacles is money, throwing all this money towards these huge big apartments and homes, and with no forethought into the longevity of it. And maybe some of them have been tricked. Yeah, death and rebirth. Having to move somewhere else because the dream that you built. Four of Swords. Death card is Scorpio. That Scorpio, as I said before, not realizing until 50 years later. And when you buy somebody else's home, so if you haven't built the home yourself, you don't know the ins and outs of council and all the sort of things that you go through. Like the house that we built, we put retaining walls in, and we know that everything is legitimate because we were there from when the land was empty. We put the retaining walls in and everything ourselves. But if you're buying somebody else's home, you're not looking back to what happened 50 years ago. So things are hidden. If you believe they put a man on the moon. Four of Swords. Again, we've got the Four of Swords. Two Four of Swords. It's hidden from you. Bit like that tsunami that went across, the orphan tsunami. They didn't know where that tsunami had come from. They had no idea, because 250 years ago, you couldn't just make a phone call to America and say, hey, did you guys have an earthquake? They didn't know where it had come from. They just saw this big wall of water. Oh, too many. But we are getting repeating cards. Yeah. Again, Five of Swords. We are getting repeating cards. Maybe, if you're picking up on this energy, as I said, the birds were very, very chirpy. If you are picking up on things, do a bit of investigating. If you do, I've been getting all these messages through. Now, we live on the top of a hill, but I've been sitting here going, God, if New Zealand had an earthquake, or if something, somewhere around us had an earthquake and there was a tsunami, would I be safe in my home? Just thinking about that stuff, finding out what is the natural disaster plan of the area that you live in. Nine of Swords. So that you are not lying awake in the middle of the night. Get the information. Information is power. Nine of Swords is Mars in Gemini. Information. So Gemini used to be the Gemini card used to be called, the Gemini card is the Lover's card. The Lover's card used to be called the Choice. If you have information, then you have choices. You can make decisions based on information that you have prior, as opposed to making rash decisions in the heat of a moment. Now, I don't know the name of the movie, but it was the Boxing Day tsunami that happened, I think, in Thailand. And I think it killed 270,000 people. Horrendous to watch, but certainly well worth watching in terms of this sort of thing. Because, if you have a look at the earthquakes that are happening around the world at the moment, there are many that are just kind of rumbling under the surface. We are also in the Pluto and Aquarius transit. Now, that transit is notorious for natural disasters. 248 years ago, when Pluto was in Aquarius, a volcano erupted in Iceland, pouring a film of ash across the whole of Europe for 8 months, destroying all of the crops that they had. Now, that hadn't erupted like that in 1,000 years. And as I said, that Uranus and Jupiter conjunction, which typically brings on earthquakes, is the 20th of April. That is too many. Just one. Ten of Wands. Heavy, heavy burdens. Just getting yourself prepared. And where I grew up in Australia, there were lots and lots of cyclones. So we always had matches and torches and batteries, or just always had those things, because you just never knew. I'm sure if there are certain areas in certain areas in countries that are more prone to natural disasters, so people are more aware. But if you are in an area where something hasn't happened for a long time, it's not going to hurt you just to get a bit of information. Otherwise, you're going to be in this Ten of Wands. The Hangman is Neptune. Neptune is what comes up from the depths. That fault line that is off the coast of the top, sort of Washington, that top side of America. It's a fault line that is out in the ocean, underneath the ocean. That is the fault line that caused that orphan tsunami. Heavy burdens, Ten of Wands, heavy burdens. The Hangman, Neptune coming up from the depths. The movement of those plates actually pushed the water up and caused that tsunami. Page of Wands on the bottom. Page of Wands is the card of the explorer. Do some investigating. Find out a bit more about where you live, about things that are around you. Breaking generational curses. I'll pull a card on that. I don't know why we've got that. Breaking generational curses. Ace of Wands. Maybe your family has got it'll be all right. Just a calm, casual kind of flow of things. And maybe it's time. And we've got a dog barking outside now. Again, in that earthquake in Turkey, the dogs were set off the day before. The birds were set off the day before. Breaking that family kind of feeling of complacency. It'll be okay. Just doing a bit of research. Obstacles are lessons in disguise. Maybe finding out that your house is actually in a flood zone. Ten of Wands, heavy burdens, Hangman, Neptune, a flood zone. Obstacle. It's an obstacle at the time, but once you have that information, Ace of Wands, you know, I'm seeing the candle here, the light's been turned on because you chose to get a bit more information. You found out that there is something that is potentially going to be a problem should something happen, which means you can put plans in place. Divine timing. It was all part of the plan. Like I said, that earthquake is well and truly overdue. Tying up loose ends. Where I lived in North Queensland when I was growing up, in the cyclone months, there was constant warnings on the radio to, even when there's storms coming through, to secure anything outside, to, you know, just to, if you've got an opportunity, to take the time just to clean up around your home, so that if something is to happen, you're not thinking, oh God, I've got to bring the bins in, or I've got to do this, or I've got to, you know, I've got the wheelbarrow out in the garden. If it's all neat and tidy, then all you need to worry about is yourself. Good health, physical, mental, and spiritual. Higher self, listening to what you are being called to do. If you're lying on the couch on a Sunday afternoon and something's telling you to go and have a bit of a tidy up outside, then follow what your higher self is telling you to do. And that goes for everybody, whether that, you know, whether you live in a natural disaster zone or not. Manical 66, neurological disorders. The other people that pick up on things are children with high sensory neurological illness, disorders. Very, very aware of things that happen. Number 3, protection from harm. Now, these are angel cards. If you have a child in your family that's picking up on something and you're not quite sure what it is, they are your angel. 60, Mitzrael, mental illness. Don't fob off what somebody is thinking or feeling, the sense that they are getting from what is happening in and around them. Don't ignore, because they are picking up on something that you can't pick up on. They've got their own little radar. 69, Rochelle, discovery. They've got their own little radar. They are discovering things that you cannot pick up on. And if they're picking up on something like that, you know, dogs pick up on it, they bark. Birds pick up on, you know, that earthquake that was happening. They were flying crazy. It's something scary. So if you've got a child who's picking up on something like that, then rather than getting angry because you can't understand what they're saying, recognize that what they are picking up on may also be scary for them. Haniel, joy and divine communication. They are being communicated to by a higher power, I believe. Children with neurological disorders. Oh my goodness. We have Gabriel, divine messages and revelations. Now the solar eclipse that just happened, it was The lunar eclipse was on the day that the Annunciation in the Catholic Church is the 25th of March. The lunar eclipse happened on the 25th of March because Easter was brought forward. The date that the solar eclipse happened, which was the 8th of April, was actually the day that the Annunciation, the celebration of the Annunciation, was brought forward in the Catholic Church. Now, the Annunciation is the day that Gabriel, the divine messenger, gave that message to Mary that she was going to be the mother of Jesus. A divine message. Now, as I said to you before, that Paris, Texas song, I've got somebody in my family with a neurological disorder who also picks up on messages, including that Paris, Texas song. There's something hidden that people are picking up on and maybe unknowingly picking up on. Samuel, death and fetching souls, that's judgment. 23, Melahel, healing and courage. And on the bottom, 32, Vazaria, harmony and mercy. Gabriel, divine messages. Joan of Arc, she was getting messages from God in the form of visual and auditory hallucinations. They are neurological disorders, which we forgot here. It's current medical doctors have determined that she probably had some form of epilepsy, which was how God was communicating those messages to her. Divine messages, Gabriel communicating those messages to Mary. Children with Asperger's, children with autism, children that are non-verbal, trying to tell you that they're sensing something. Now, this is Scrabble tiles. Letters and numbers, I will call them out, may be something of relevance to you, maybe something that you're picking up on, or somebody that you know is picking up on something, and this is just confirmation. E and a 1, an A and a 1, an I and a 1, a T and a 1, a U and a 1, a V and a 4, a W and a 4. Just heard Wisconsin. A D and a 2. Denver, Colorado was something else that popped into my mind. A H and a 4. A J and an 8. And a Z and a 10. And if I go back to this neurological disorders, some of the seizures that my child describes, and when she's asked what do they feel like, her description of them is it feels like an earthquake. Divine messages coming through people in weird and wonderful ways. Okay, that's what I've got for you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will link that song Paris, Texas by Lana Del Rey in the description box. There may be more messages in the lyrics or the music video of that song. I'll also link the movie as well. Oh, and also Man on the Moon by REM. If you haven't already, please like, share and subscribe. If you are interested in any of my tarot or oracle decks, the links to those can be found in the description box. If you want to be notified of future readings, please hit the notification bell. I wish you a lovely rest of the day, and I will see you again in another reading.